Let's bring into the conversation Owen Jones, who's columnist with The Guardian. Owen, good to have you on. Thank you for joining us. Focusing on the Jeremy Corbyn party, first of all, I mean, how much of a threat do you think this is to Keir Starmer and the Labour government?
Well, I think it's a big threat. They're slightly less popular than cholera at the moment. I mean, look, they only won a third of the vote on the lowest turnout in British democratic history last time. They actually won less votes than Jeremy Corbyn did in 2019, and that was seen as a shellacking. Obviously, I know how our electoral system works, but largely because Reform split the right of centre vote, that's why they won a third of the vote. And two-thirds of the seats. But the point is this, look, they came to power, they didn't have a vision for the country, they went for elderly people with a winter fuel payment, they went for disabled people, they threatened to drive hundreds of thousands into poverty. That blew up, and I think that's pretty instructive, because their big USP were the grown-ups in the room, we're really competent, and actually they've been a shambolic mess. And as well as that, you know, not addressing the longest squeeze in wages since the Battle of Waterloo, would you believe, in this country. I mean, we've had two lost generations, pretty much, of living standards. They're arming a genocide. Gaza has been drowned in blood, including with British arms. We still provide the components, key components, for F-35 jets, which are shredding the bodies of little children. Gaza, as we can all see, is being starved to death deliberately by our ally. And I think the point is we need a different economic system at home, which is about taking on the wealthy interests. We're booming like never before, redistributing that wealth, investing in public services, taking utilities into public ownership. I mean, just on that, I mean, privatisation, I think most people never really bought into, but unless you like swimming in excrement, I think people can see making utilities and services cash cows for profiteers has not worked very well. So it's about an alternative: public ownership, workers' rights, redistributing wealth and power, investing in public services, the climate emergency, and not committing genocide. I think these are things that actually millions of people support, which is why I think a lot of people who voted for Labour, hoping they'd get some substantial change, are frankly pretty angry and looking elsewhere at the moment.
You do accept, though, that it gives Nigel Farage a much better chance of becoming Prime Minister?
Nigel Farage is on course to be Prime Minister because his government's failed. I mean, look, they're way ahead in the opinion polls at the moment with no Jeremy Corbyn, this party, the name they're going to come up with, as they get people to sign up, tens of thousands. I just signed up before I came on air.
Any name suggestions?
I'm not really a name party sort of guy, as long as it's not called Wibble or something.
Fine.
The People's Party, who knows? But, hopefully that'll be decided democratically. I think doing things behind closed doors, I think people don't really like that kind of stuff. No, but I think...
back to Nigel Farage, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, people are disillusioned and angry because the system doesn't work. If you've got an economic system that doesn't mean rising living standards, that doesn't mean public services get better, that, your next generation will be worse off than you, that you have good, decent, affordable housing, then people get angry and they look for answers. And at the moment, the person monopolising here's the alternative to the broken systems, Nigel Farage. We need other voices in the room who can say, actually, you should be angry at the system, but don't blame migrants and refugees. Blame the bosses who aren't paying you properly. Blame the profiteers who have run down our services. Blame the bankers who plunge us into a disaster. Let's tax them properly, invest in public services, bring our utilities into public ownership, and stop arming child killers. I don't think actually it's that unreasonable. It's not extreme, is it?
Can I ask you about at the moment, Morgan McSweeney gets a lot of headlines, Prime Minister's close advisor, various sort of musings about him wanting to tackle reform issues, crime, small boats, not that they are reform issues, but certainly how he sort of sees it. This new party, do you think it could bring Labour further to the left, further to perhaps the sort of Labour Party that Keir Starmer ran on when he ran for leader?
Well, I mean, it's about, most people don't think it's sort of left or right. Keir Starmer ran on a false prospectus, abolishing tuition fees, public ownership, taxing the rich, and it was a lie. Morgan McSweeney is the real Prime Minister, by the way, ran that deceitful leadership campaign. Look, I supported We Deserve Better, which at the last election raised money for the Labour Party and the Green Party and independent candidates. Sorry, left-wing Labour candidates. It backed the Green Party candidates. Let me do that again. The We Deserve Better thing, which I supported, raised money for left-wing candidates who are either Green Party candidates or independent candidates. And that's what needs to happen. There needs to be a coalition.
Right.
And I think what will happen now is to put pressure on Labour and offer an alternative. This new party needs to do a pact with the Green Party and independent candidates so it's not splitting the votes. We don't want to go People's Front of Judea People's Front. And I think actually because otherwise Labour will be laughing. I mean, if you've got a Green Party candidate standing against this new party candidate and then Labour just wins, well, what's the point in that? So obviously what they need to do is get their act together, form a pact. We Deserve Better, I know, will be raising money to support different candidates on a non-sectarian basis. I'm a floating voter now. I quit the Labour Party and I'll vote for whatever candidate locally has the best chance of winning on that sort of programme. So I think that's what will happen, because otherwise Labour won't feel the heat or the pressure, and reform could end up winning for the reasons you actually set out. So yeah, let's have a pact. Let's get the Greens and this new party to work together, and if they work together on the things they agree on, public ownership, taxing the rich, investment. I mean, they agree on most things.
Yeah.
They're not having a genocide. I think that would put that. I think Labour would be worried then, and they should be worried if that happens.
On Jeremy Corbyn, I mean, clearly people love him, people hate him. There's not many people in the middle. But I mean, are you quite surprised that he wants to go back into this? Because sort of from afar, he looked thoroughly miserable when he was Labour leader, and the idea of him sort of plunging himself back into frontline politics again, i.e., leading a political party, I was quite surprised. I don't know how you felt.
Well, to be honest, given he's been portrayed as the devil incarnate and the coming of Satan by austere, respectable media for so long, he's taken the punches pretty well. And I think, I mean, look, he was in exile, political exile for decades, fighting for policies and issues which actually got vindicated. He was there in the 80s opposing apartheid when the government were calling the ANC terrorists. He opposed the Iraq War, tragically vindicated on that one. Austerity, lone voice on the Labour benches when it was all austerity light and dead balls, that got vindicated. I think, look, he made a lot of big calls that got ridiculed and then got vindicated. And I think, actually, look, I know actually, given the amount he's got thrown at him, there are people who have bad words to say about him. But I think most people actually think deep down, a lot of people, he's a principled guy. He says what he means what he says. You might disagree with him on this or that, but it comes from the heart, his conviction. And he's not doing it to advance his career or his reputation. He's doing it because he cares about things, and I'd like more politicians like that. I might not agree or disagree. I might agree or disagree with them on this or that, but actually, I think having people who are rooted in their communities. He loves Islington North. He stood when he got kicked out, and he won a massive, resounding victory there, which is very rare, by the way. Independent people who stand as an independent candidate and then win afterwards doesn't normally happen, even if they represent that constituency for a long time. So you've got to look at that. His local voters love him for a reason, and actually got vindicated on a lot of the big issues. Am I surprised that he wants to go and be a punch bag for many of my colleagues in the British media? I wouldn't do it myself, but I think that shows he's pretty tough, actually, to be honest. He's gone through a lot, and yeah, I wish him well.
OK, thank you, Owen. Appreciate your time. Owen Jones is a columnist with The Guardian.